ask you a philosophical question about one of the characterizations you've made about the law and the bad insurance that people may have had before. Is it possible, and does the White House understand how someone in the insurance market, the individual market, could say, you know what, the White House may believe I have a crappy insurance policy, but I like it. And because I have an orientation toward either liberty or individual personal choice, I'd like to keep it. Or I think I know as much, if not more, about my own needs and my own insurance coverage as the White House. And I may actually not be comfortable with the administration telling me I have a crappy insurance policy and they know more about my health care needs than I do.
Well, I would say a couple of things. One, the fundamental philosophical question you're asking was the one that was debated when health insurance reform was debated. Not just when Obamacare was passed, but every time that health insurance reform has been discussed and legislated, and Congress has attempted to pass it over a century. So when it comes to should there be minimum benefit standards, that is obviously the President's view, the administration's view, and that was foundational to what the Affordable Care Act provides. It was what the battle in Congress was about, and it is a law that passed and the President signed and the Supreme Court upheld, and it was a focus of a presidential election in 2012 that the person who is most closely associated with the law won. So, but obviously that didn't mean that once that election was won or the law was passed, that all opposition to it would cease to exist, that all philosophical opposition to or ideological opposition to the idea that there should be minimum standards of insurance. I mean, it's not entirely different to somebody who is opposed to wearing a helmet in a state where there's a helmet law for motorcyclists, right? You can be ideologically opposed to it. You may think it's wrong, that it's government overreach, but the legislative body that passed that law disagreed and has been elected and or appointed, or for example, basic car insurance that is a requirement in state after state after state. There may be individuals who say, you know what, my conception of personal liberty says that I'm a safe driver and I shouldn't have to buy insurance. Well, the decision is made by.
I think you would acknowledge that there's a difference between not wearing a helmet and never buying insurance and having insurance that you've actually sorted out, looked at competitively. You may have done some shopping. You may have actually run the numbers for yourself or your family, and said, you know what?
Well, no. Look, but you're talking about a philosophical. If that person had that policy and won, and it was grandfathered in, that person, for philosophical, ideological, or other kinds of reasons, may just keep it, even if other options are available to him or her. But the broader argument about whether you agree or disagree that there should be baseline standards for insurance coverage is one that goes to the heart of the debate in the beginning, and obviously the President feels there ought to be. He feels very strongly, and a lot of people feel very strongly, that insurance companies take advantage of and have taken advantage of for years individuals in this market who have so little recourse by charging women double. I mean, my guess is the person here is not a woman, because if a woman wanted to say, I like paying double because my insurance company has taken advantage of me and my gender for years or decades, that would be an odd position to take. But if she had that policy before 2010 and wanted to keep it and wanted to pay double for worse coverage, she could. But it is absolutely the case that the President believes there ought to be minimum standards of coverage, and that philosophical and ideological debate was engaged, and I'm sure it won't go away, because I'm sure the House will, at least a couple more dozen times vote to